What is your name?
Paulie.
Holly.
Yeah. Just checking my car out right there.
Yeah, mine's around the corner. I'm like, oh,
The Audi?
should be fine
The
though.
blue Audi, yeah. I thought we had to feed the meter, and I was like, nope.
No,
Nah, after 6:30, you're good.
After 6:30, yeah. They wanted to start charging until midnight or something like that now. The new mayor. I was like, oof.
There's not many people down here, so it makes sense.
Jules, put the camera to the group real quick until we get this going.
Bro, you live.
Yeah.
We're live.
Nice.
What is that you do, Polly?
So I'm a wealth advisor by day, and then I do my clothing line at night and weekends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. How is that the clothing line like going? Like, or how did you come up with that?
Well, being a wealth advisor and having to wear suits 8 to 5 for the last 16 years, you get a little tired. So nights and weekends, I've always would be like in athleisure wear, whether it be Nike, recently Lululemon. But when I would wear that, I would actually get like weird looks by corporate America when they would see me dressed at nights and weekends. And what's wrong with that? Now you go to a wine bar, you see any soccer mom wearing Lululemon. But I started around 3.5 years ago, unlike regular people. Athleisure wear.
Cool.
So it's unlike regular people.
Unlike regular people, yes.
That's awesome. And so you say your clothes is like Lululemon or like what would you if you were gonna have any kind of like comparison?
Little bit like Lulu, Nike, Under Armour, athleisure wear,
Okay.
hoodies, yoga pants, sweatpants, shirts,
Comfy.
Because
yeah.
Lululemon actually does
Third one.
a blazer and a slim fit pants that looks really nice. It looks like I'm wearing a suit, and wear with the t-shirt.
Correct.
And I'm not a big work because I don't work out, right? So I don't wear any of that clothes. And but I bought that. I liked it.
Yeah, you paid, right?
Yeah.
It's probably what, $300 for the set.
Yeah, I think it was like the blazer was like 180 and the pant was like 150 something, and then the shirt was like 55 or something like that.
Yeah,
but it looks really nice. I want to go. I want to go play golf in it.
Yeah. It's light. Not a lot of stitching. This is what I like about it, at least. And they've evolved. Lululemon has really evolved. They got really. I love their stuff, and I wear it a lot. I don't always wear a URP when I want to go to my athleisure wear. I'm not that guy. So I wear a lot of the local Houston brands I support. They support me. I support them because it's a challenging industry. It really is. It's very competitive. The margins are very low, and you can't come out and charge like Lululemon.
Yeah,
definitely.
Branding is brainwashed.
Yeah, definitely.
So don't want to cut your conversation short. However, we are starting the podcast. That was great conversation we had. We're going to jump right back into it. Just to let you guys know, try to keep the mic about a fist away from your face whenever you're talking, just to make sure we pick up your audio pretty good, okay? Today, we do have two special guests, one who's been on here before and one who's never been on here. I'm going to go ahead and let you two introduce yourselves, and we'll jump right back into the conversation. Everybody else knows who we are here. We're Lionsgate Realty, right? We've been here. What is this, our 100 and something episode? So we don't need to introduce ourselves, but you two, go ahead. We're going to start off with Nick. Introduce yourself.
Nick Cadena, videographer, photographer, local dude. Just doing it.
Where can they find you?
Nick Cade 713 Instagram, or I like Facebook too for some reason, but I don't know. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Instagram.
Paul
Bodwin with Wealth Standard Financial. Paulie B. Wealth Standard Financial. We're a financial planning firm, not just asset management, but we do life insurance. And then I also have a clothing line. Unlike regular people, URP Wear. You can find me at Instagram at URP Wear or P Bodwin, BOUDWIN.
Okay, awesome. I want to jump right back into what you were saying, right? Because it's a topic that I've been doing a lot of research on. One of the reasons why we started this podcast. You said something about branding. Were you going to go deeper into that? Because it's something that I've been researching, so it's a great conversation that I would love to have with you. What were you saying about branding? So before I interrupted you.
Well, basically, like anyone can buy, anything. And branding is like if you walk through the Galleria, and if Lululemon wasn't the name, the backing, Lululemon, they wouldn't be getting, would you say, $180 a coat?
Yeah, it was a 181.
Yeah, for a jacket, or $100 for a shirt, or $120 for pants. So branding, it's like who wears it, what is the meaning behind the line, and then who else rocks it. So branding is very important. Some people I like that they're wearing it, and then some people I'm like, I don't know if I want that person wearing it.
Let me ask you this,
Hey,
right? Go ahead, Nate.
No, what he just said right now is pretty interesting, because I've heard that a lot of people are starting to come out with we're saying that, right? Like so my daughter doesn't wear anything but what is it, Brandy Melville or something like that, and then also I heard the same thing about the Lululemon, right? They're like, they're building specific brands for specific people, and what is your stance, or what is your opinion on that? How do you feel about that?
I probably have to say it goes back to the name of the brand. Unlike regular people, it's let's hear your story. Everyone likes to hear a story. What's the story that makes you unlike regular people? And when people hear that, a lot of athletes wear it because you see the success of the athletes after. You don't see the hard work. And I always believe everyone's one day away from losing everything, or you're one day or one good break away from just skyrocketing up.
So whenever it comes to URP, your clothing brand, right? Do you personally have a personal brand that is attached to the brand, or do you separate that and just have a brand name for the brand?
Both my brands are completely separated, but they have a lot of similarities, if that makes sense. It's like in my wealth advisory firm, we don't really sell product. We deliver solutions, because all our client situations, financial situations, are completely different. They're unique to themselves. So we really have to hear the whole, our first meetings with clients, it's literally the client doing 80 to 90% of the talking and us just listening. You don't walk in and we're not sending a portfolio in front of the client talking about 10 to 15, 20% returns annually, because that might not what the client needs.
He's looking for at that moment. Yeah. So did you make that a conscious decision to not necessarily separate yourself, but have the brand URP completely stand alone from who you personally are? Was that a conscious decision, or did you it just landed in your lap like that?
It kind of was a conscious decision, because a lot of it was my life and my unlike regular path to where I'm at right now. I worked in the service and bar industry till I was 30. Played professional poker for 3 years after going to Arizona State and graduating in 2000. So, I've kind of done a lot of things, and that's a lot of the people that wear in Houston are in the bar and club industry. And I really like working with those people, since I did that and I know what it takes.
Okay, because right now I'm actually this is a conversation, and not necessarily an argument, but a discussion that we have constantly with inside of our brokerage right now. It's about keeping your brand, your personal brand, along with your professional brand separate, or mixing it together. I am of the mind that who you are as a business person is the way that you treat your clients, and along with the way that you live your life. So personally, like me, I only have one account for my Instagram, and it's what I do personally. And the same thing, the clients who end up landing with me, especially through social media, is because they like what they see. So they're like, oh, I can connect with him, right? So in this day and age, to me, it's a little, not necessarily strange, but different whenever I see somebody who separates their personal life from the brand or whatever they do as business wise. So it's a conversation that we have pretty deep within our own brokerage. And I think something that we kind of like landed in between. Nick, I think you have attached your brand completely to yourself. I mean, you even have a chain with your face on and everything, right? Which is pretty cool. Do you want to speak on that? Like, how has that helped you? Has that deterred certain people away from you?
I'm sure it's definitely deterred people from working with me, but I also think it attracts the right people in my life too. Like, if it's deterred you, chances are we probably shouldn't work together or be together. I mean, but I get a lot of positive feedback on the way, at least how I used to be a little more like outgoing and more like vulgar, I would say. I would just speak what's on my mind. And a lot of people would like text me and say, oh, I wish I could post that. Or I wish I could say that. I wish I could do that. And I've kind of backed off it a little bit, and I'll second guess some things. But I think usually it's with class and funny, so most people accept it. But it's definitely helped me get business too, or kind of connect with people where they can kind of relate to me, or they want to work with me or want to be with me. So I feel for me it's worked. But it's not something I do consciously. Like I try to, I don't like try and separate it or did it on purpose. It's just who I am, like how I am. And also I'm not going to run a bunch of accounts either for like this or that. So I just do what I do. And really, I don't even post my work on social media. I mean, you go look, most of it's just memes or me drinking and eating somewhere, so.
And that is the brand.
Yeah, there you go. That is the brand. So, I mean, but yeah, I don't, so. But that it is. It's
you know who Nick is. Huh. Like whenever they say back in the day, whenever they were choosing to vote for a president, they would say, "Oh, well, you know what? I'll vote for him because I think I would like to drink a beer with him."
Yeah,
that's our boy Nick right now. You know what?
I have people that will hire me and they'll be like, "Damn, we're not drinking." Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know. I mean, I guess we can." Yeah. So
what I asked you whenever you walked in there, you say, "All right, where's the little 12?" Yeah.
I'm bloated from the Miller Lite.
When I met Vic, Nick, he came in because he came with Vic, right? He came in with a 12-pack of Miller. I hadn't seen Miller Lite in years. He had a 12-pack of Miller Lite. He had one Miller Lite in his hand, and then he had his finger through the ring holding the other 5. And I'm like, who is this guy they just brought over here? I was like,
that was Nick.
Yeah, that was Nick. But just no, so the thing is this, Giovanni's. I think he's throwing a shot at me, right? Because I have
what part? Because I don't remember.
I have a private. Instagram.
Oh no.
I have a private Instagram account, and the reason that I do it, I've been in sales, almost my whole life now. And the thing is this, who I am on Instagram is exactly who I am in person. There's no. I'm not on the stage on Instagram. I'm not a what do you call it? I'm not performing. I'm not performing. That's me. That's at its as raw as it can get. You know what I'm saying? So I believe in what he says, right? Where hey, you should be that person. Your brand should be you, right?
Yes.
But I do have a private Instagram, right? And that's where all the more personal things go, right? For one thing, on my personal Instagram, everybody on there, I know who they are. I'm related to them. They're friends of the family. They're friends, and those are the people that if they're gonna follow me, I'm gonna follow them, and that's where I post my kids' graduation, tender moments with my family, things like that, I do believe that you should keep that separate from your business. It's like it's like office, like being in the office. Instagram or social media period is now integrated with your business. In your business, right? You really don't want to have that. If somebody comes, they're gonna buy $1 million home from you, right? They really don't want to see a crib or a docutot. What is it? What does Vic call that docutot thing on the corner? With a bunch of toys and everything thrown everywhere, right? They don't want to see those things, and so that's how I treat my social media. I separate it from my business. But yes, my career is a lifestyle, and I imagine that yours is as well, So I agree with him in some sense, but then also I do believe we should be separate.
I think it works for personal. Everyone's different how they feel about certain things.
Yeah.
I don't think it's right or wrong either way. I think as long as you're successful, I guess.
So
happy.
now that Elon has bought X, right, or Twitter, which is now X,
he's bringing back Vine, by the way.
Oh, that's what I heard. I saw that, right? So I think he's hoping that once TikTok does not get sold, because ByteDance, who owns TikTok, says that they're refusing to sell, they're going to take it to the Supreme Court. Hopefully it falls out and they can stay in the States. But if it doesn't and they don't sell, then that means they're going to be banned, right? Then Vine will come back. But going back to the point where I was talking about, right? Now that Elon has taken over that and people can talk freely on the app, I feel people nowadays are trying to be more controversial than who they really are. Now, I want you to speak on that because Nate, because you personally, that's just who you are. You're talking freely now. We had this conversation where I was like, this is perfect timing for Nate to be on social media because the things that he say, even though they are controversial, but that's who he is, right? So it comes off naturally, doesn't come off as fake, which we've had other people on the podcast who try to be controversial. And then when we push them on them, they back off because that's not really who they are.
Yeah.
Can you speak on the upside and downside of being controversial?
Well, it's different for me because I don't mean to be controversial. I just, and my partners and my sales managers and directors have kept me, hidden for or bound for the last 3 years, right? Because, cancel culture and all that stuff, right? And so just recently, if you notice, I want to say, maybe about 4 months ago, right, is whenever they said, hey, you know what, it's your time, do what you got to do, and you've seen me more and more on social media speaking my mind. I don't see any downside in being, and once again, I'm not trying to be controversial. People are just, getting upset of things that I say, right? But what I always say is that when you're saying the truth, right? And when you have, facts to back up what you're saying, then you can speak freely. And you can, I have everything that I say, there's nothing that I can go back and say, oh, I'm sorry I said that, or I didn't mean to say that. I literally wholeheartedly, that's how I feel. And I'm happy that now, a lot of people are starting to feel that way.
And you know what? Genuinely, I am more PC leaning, right? I'm more politically correct leaning, except for very few topics, right? Like relationships, those I am 100% Mexican on that side, right?
Like women's rights?
Yeah, like that stuff like that, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Revoke the 17th or whatever it is, right? Whichever one of those is. I'm very controversial on that end, but a lot of people, they're like, well, you're not being yourself. Like, no, I'm just not naturally controversial. I'm very relaxed, very calm person. Let people do what they want to do, except on certain topics. Now, you get me going on those certain topics, I'll riff and I won't cover it up. But just like earlier today, we had those videos that we're shooting. I'm just like, look, bro, I'm not going to act like I had a hard life when I didn't have a hard life, right? And that's the video that we shot today. But going back to that, Flor, can you talk a little bit about this? How you, and I don't even want to say living your truth, right? Because I hate how that's, but you being an actual farm and ranch person, how people actually rely to use you versus a person who just takes pictures in front of cows.
I've just
when it comes to being a realtor.
I just had, conversations with people that just go to inquire about a property and, they'll ask something and, I answer their questions and they're like, oh, can I keep on asking you or can you help me with this? Because you actually know, about what you're talking about. I called or I have asked other agents and they don't know, anything. So I think it's, especially in this business, it is extremely important for you to, if you're going to be doing something, if you're going to be dedicated to work with a very specific niche, to know about it. There's, it's pointless for you to just be showing it if that's not your specialty.
So how much do you know about managing money?
She just nailed it, actually. That's a great point. Is if you don't have a niche in our industry and you think you're doing something good because you're shotgunning and you want to take on any business, you're going to fail. My niche, for example, is small business owners, women in wealth, and some pre-retirees. That's it. So we have a minimum investment account, asset under management. Will I step outside my box for loved ones or people that I care about that might need some life insurance? Yeah, sure. I'll do that and take those one-offs, but that's very important.
Do you mind diving a little bit deeper into the money management side? Because I'll always hear it, but I've never actually had somebody sit down and explain it.
Yeah, definitely. So there's equities, stocks, there's bonds, there's managed funds, there's ETFs. ETFs are exchange traded funds, which is like a fund of funds, like a sector of funds. There's lots of different ways you can invest, and especially in challenging times like this, where we don't know who the president is going to be in 6 months. And in my opinion, I have a saying: don't let your political views affect your financial future. So I don't care, or I don't even want to know who you like or who you don't like. But we're going to face some challenging times. So there's lots of ways to get protected growth and different strategies that goes far beyond managed money. That, if you don't have a financial advisor, seek one and just ask them, hey, how do you find your clients? Going back on something you had said, you really nailed it. I liked it about the clients that I work with remind me of me. I get along with. They're almost like, if I don't make them my friends. And realtors, I mean, how many times have you worked with a client where you either maybe fired them? That's a term I heard recently, that realtors can fire people.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah,
all the time.
because they're just being, whether they're too needy, texting you at 10 p.m., not taking your advice on a price, especially in this real estate market, on offering.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why did you hire me then if you're not going to take my professional advice?
The Google pros. They Google and they, oh my God, this is what you did.
Yeah, these comps, the GLAs,
Let me ask you a question. Your industry, right? I always notice, right? I'm not talking bad about your industry. I'm just saying, I always notice around this time, whenever it is perceived that the market is low or things are going bad, you start seeing, 19 to 22-year-old kids popping out of the woodwork trying to have a lunch date or a coffee date with you.
Mm-hmm.
With some laminated, paper, with throwing big names, all the big AIG and all these companies and selling you insurance or whatever, right? And now the one that I saw today was pretty interesting because it's one of the Patrick David's company, UTH or I forget what I don't know what the initials are, but how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's the way you get your experience and you get into the business, or you just think that's just people being used to gain more?
So that couldn't be that's probably the worst way you could approach being a financial advisor to a client. The analogy that I use often is at the gym, you have trainers.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine walking into your trainer first day and he just says, get down on the bench press and starts doing that. No, he's going to ask you your goals. What do you want to do? Do you want to bulk up? Do you want to lean out? He's going to need, what do you eat? He's going to ask you a bunch of questions in order to give you the antidote. So it's just like a doctor. You don't walk into a doctor's office and just say, hey, doc, I need some Vicodin. I need some pain pills. And he starts giving you that. He's going to ask questions. So we're financial doctors. I say, we have to interview our clients, find out what their goals are in order to give them the correct advice.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
As a financial advisor, right? Not necessarily giving advice right now, but your personal opinion. Everybody's talking about how, if I remember correctly, this is a term that I heard. I don't know much about it, cryptocurrency, but everybody's talking about how Bitcoin is going to split and is going to continue to go up. What, just in general, not necessarily a coin itself, but what is your thoughts on crypto? Do you think that it could potentially, overtake our currency?
Crypto came out, and that's a great question. I've fielded that question probably since 2018 when I was at Regions Private Wealth. I was with Bank of America and Merrill Lynch before that, back in the mortgage crisis when B of A and Merrill Lynch merged. And it was funny because in corporate America, you hear me talk about corporate America. I work for an independent RIA right now, resident investment advisory firm called Wealth Center Financial. President is Brian Butler. You can find us at wealthstandardfinancial.com. And cryptocurrency, I have lots of friends that invest in it. And when it goes up, I get calls from those guys. But when it goes from 60,000 down to 30,000, those guys, like roaches.
Disappear.
I don't hear from them. Yeah, you disappear. Yeah. It's a trading vehicle, in my opinion. I don't think it's a long-term hold, but it's something that you can, obviously, if you just trade at the waves from 30 to 60, you're doubling your money, sell. It goes back down, buy it again. But I find it very interesting, and you touched on a Geo right there about what it could mean to our future, the way it can track. Everyone is trackable. KYC, know your client, is very big in the banking industry to fight off terrorism. Anti-terrorism laws. If your client has this really weird deposit frequency, you have to track that, and if you ignore that, you could be held liable and really get stains on your U4 form.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on cash?
Inflation's
that's a good question.
That's a good question. I'll tell you that a lot of advisors are always going to try to steer you towards investments because that's the way they get paid. But honestly, talking about proven facts just to show your thing, your argument and your debate, inflation is at all-time high right now. 8%. So credit card debt, we are at the highest credit card debt as a country as we've ever been before. So I tell all my clients and friends, if you have a high credit card debt, you're not alone. Just think of ways to get out of it. But if you're staying in cash, you're losing money right now. I mean, CDs are at 5%. There's annuities. We're doing a lot of, rebalancing our clients, because if they fixed an annuity 5 years ago, well, just like a refinance on a house, they can restructure that contract. So there's lots of ways out there that you can use your cash and still be safe.
So just one more question before, because we want to touch on your clothing brand too. I'm sorry, man. We just went to the we're just talking about the financials
the money,
here. Right. But
we're like, what should I do with my money right now?
So I've never crypto since day one. I've never invested in crypto ever. I've always thought it was foolish, right? But I and of course, you dabble in safe investments, right, with the stock market, but I've never done anything big, anything, outrageous where I make a lot of money, right? But every time any money I get goes right into real estate, and I also dabble a little bit in gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that, but some of my crypto buddies, right, same like you just said, they make some money and they're like, oh, there you're calling me, you see, but recently I actually heard it on I think it was CNN's, one of those guys were saying that pretty much it wasn't a good investment to buy gold, and about how gold was what do you know about that?
Well, gold's not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're ever going to lose a lot in your investment. It's a very steady investment. And do you hold the bars of gold? That's I always tell people. No, you buy like usually in an ETF or a stock in the gold.
No, I hold.
I hold.
He has the same gold.
Let's go.
Safety deposit box.
Yeah. So before we talk about URP, you know that I am the one who holds people to account. I am the accountable holder here on the podcast.
Okay.
And I've held other people on the podcast to account. I had a little birdie just a while ago talk to me on our comment section that says that they think or they know that you have a pretty hefty holding in Bitcoin.
That's false. That is
a little birdie told me. A little birdie told me. So I'm just here to hold you accountable.
Okay. I have 8 whole Bitcoins that I can't find that I bought for $8 each in 1999. No, I'm lying. I'm lying.
Are they $500,000?
I have no idea how to find them.
8 Bitcoin times 60,000, where it's roughly out right now, is 480.
I've already had 2. I had a forensic, a computer guy try to find it or whatever, and they couldn't find it.
I've heard horror stories about that. Like, I'm big on anti-elderly abuse.
Uh-huh.
There was a movie that came out a couple months ago with Jason Statham called The Beekeeper. And, I'm very fortunate and lucky enough to both still have my parents. They're late 70s, and people take advantage of elderly people, and I do not have a tolerance for that at all. But there's horror stories where they forget their passwords to their Bitcoin, and I'm like, well, there's no other way. Like, it's 2024. There's no other way that they can verify their identity to retrieve their Bitcoin. So I'm sorry you're going through that.
Yeah, I can. We've already tried for less.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's one of the main points of buying crypto, right? It can only be held by one person, and the reason for the blockchain is to make sure that one person only has transactions to keep track of it. So I think it ends up becoming a little bit more of an issue for like the financial industries, right? So I'm guessing that's why the government's pushing a little bit back on it. From my understanding, the government wants to come up with their own cryptocurrency to pay, like,
of course, they can track
utilities.
Everything.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. Yeah,
I like cash.
Right?
Yeah,
back to the
gold.
So going back to your brand, and Nick, I want to ask you about this as well. URP, how long ago did you start this?
I started it right around during COVID. I can remember, God, it feels like yesterday, talking to my mother and saying, I'm not gonna come out on the finish line after we have to stay at home as the same person. I'm going to be doing something. That's when I said, okay, I'm going to really, I launched my showroom in East Downtown, and 3.5 years later, here we are, and it's evolving. It changes every day.
Was it something that you were passionate about, or did you just you decided? Because I've heard some people start business, and the way that they started was, okay, this makes the most amount of money. I know that I could probably do this, and then I hear the opposite of that is, I'm passionate about this. I don't know if it's going to make money, but I'm going to do it as a business. which route did you take, or were you a little bit in between?
It's funny because you say that the last podcast I did with Johnny Caraba, we were talking about financial, and if you do anything thinking about the financial gain to yourself, I can guarantee you something: you will fail in the long term. You might have some substantial short term wins to where, because you did it for the wrong reason. But if you do it for just the passion of yourself and wanting to, whether it's help people out financially as my financial advisor, or just doing it because I like it and dressing people, and that's the financial is way down the road.
Yeah, and I always say that. I always tell it to all my realtors, because I have realtors that come in here and they're like, they want to make money. When do I get my first check? And when I get this? And how is it reasonable to make X amount of dollars, or can I do this? And it's like, look, I said, concentrate on helping the people. The money is a byproduct.
Yes.
You're going to make money in this business. Don't worry about it. And it's proven with success, like Florida. So I mean, just a perfect example. Florida doesn't ask about the money. What she does, she asks for commissions, but she doesn't. When she's out there, she's not worried. She's like these people. I mean, she's literally canceled deals. Got pretty much advisor people not to use certain finance companies that are trying to take advantage of her clients because she cares.
Yeah.
And in turn, she builds a clientele that are with her for years,
Yeah.
So it's good that you got into the passion. Now let me ask you a question. Are you considering making blazers and
URP Elite? That's going to be like a little
Oh.
side division of URP, and I already have a sample one that I can show you.
I feel like he could be your model or something. Like I feel like you could do it. Yeah.
I'm always in a suit, man. That's what I'm known for. I actually have pajama. I have a suit pajama. I have suits that I go swimming in, right?
Yeah.
I have suits I go swimming in. I have
What's that like?
Huh?
What's that like? The
swimming in a
the
suit.
swimsuits.
Actually, if it's a little heavy when you get out of the water, but when you're in there, it just you feel
Floating.
Yeah, you're floating. I like it. Yeah.
42R,
Yeah, I'm a 44 actually.
44. Okay.
44.
Close.
Close.
So, Nick, was that kind of like the same process for you as well? Like, was it just something that you were passionate about, or was a little bit more on the financial side for you going into photography and videography?
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely passion. There's the money, like y'all said, a byproduct or whatever. I was kind of curious though too. I think for me, it's kind of funny because I guess I got busy in like 2015 or 16, and I would say by like 2019-ish, 20-ish, I would go to jobs in like sweat shorts and tank tops and slides, and like I just wanted to be comfortable, and most of my clients didn't care. And I would say maybe all of them didn't. They're like, "Oh, they don't care. You're behind the camera." I mean, I always knew if there was an event or something, I'd wear jeans and whatever I had to. But I always wore like khaki shorts or jeans and boots and button downs. And then I just started wearing, gym shorts and tank tops and slides, and it kind of worked out for me. Like it didn't really affect my business at all. And if anything, maybe it got me more business, and that goes to like having the right people in my life or whatever. But that's what I was saying. I need to come cop some gear. And, but I love, some days I'm like, all right, I may not see certain many people. Like the other day I did like 4 jobs and they were all like vacant homes. So I was like, I'll just wear whatever I want, or I might see a couple of people here and there. But so I think that kind of goes, like, I guess besides the passion thing, it's definitely passion. Money comes and goes regardless. So that is what it is. But like, doing what you love, loving that's priceless. And then building your brand with the right people around you,
Fall in love with
being
the
able to be
process.
comfortable, I think is huge,
Yeah.
And I had a guy tell me, a lender guy was like, he's like, man, I can't wait till I can go to closings in like, gym shorts or whatever. And I'm like, well, why can't you? I mean, I don't know, but so I don't know. I think it's cool. I like to be comfortable.
You can't hear. You can't go to closings here in shorts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't go to court in shorts either. I found that out. I
Find out the hard
I
way.
found out the hard way. The judge was like, get out of here, dude. I was like, oh, my bad. I was like, I hired a lawyer. I thought he was going to do this. Not me. Yeah. Look, true story. I had to go to Target, like buy something. It was like right around the corner. It was just like a speeding ticket. So
Nick said, but this is Lululemon.
$300.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to move over into our business side of the conversation, right? So Zillow seems to say that they figured out how to make sure that the buyer's agent is taken care of. And what they came up with, which is a contract that we shared, anybody can go and find it through Zillow. The contract is available now. It says that the realtor is only obligated, and also the buyer is only obligated to work with that realtor for 1 week. Now, what I don't see stipulated in there is how the realtor is going to get paid. It just says the representation. So how do you, Nate, as a broker within the business, think that's going to work? And then I want to ask you guys as consumers who, use a realtor to buy or sell, or whether you don't or not, right? How do you think that's going to affect you guys? But go ahead, Nate.
I think it's Zillow doing exactly what it always does. Just look out for itself and try to figure out how to gather information, because that's what they are. They're not a real estate company. They're an information company. They're a tech company. And essentially what they're doing is they're pretty much saying, hey, they're trying to lure in realtors and the consumer at the same time. And what they're going to do is just collect. They're using the realtors to collect information so that they can sell it as a lead. That's what they're doing. And so I read it. There's really nothing there that covers, like you said, doesn't cover commission, doesn't cover anything. It's just pretty much, hey, you know what, we're teaming up. Okay.
The funny thing about Zillow, right? Like how you said, they just collect data and then they sell the data, right? That's their moneymaker.
Yeah.
I saw a stat the other day saying that Zillow sold more leads to realtors than there is people in the United States. So it's like, okay, so they're selling these leads 2 or 3 times to you or to the other agent.
Yeah, they are.
That's funny. How do you think that's gonna affect the buyer's flow?
I mean, there's a lot of misinformation going around. So there's a lot of people, that regardless, they're going to use it. There's a lot of people that regardless, they trust this estimate. They think that their house is worth like whatever this estimate is, giving them the price. So, I mean, it's honestly, I do think it's going to fill their purpose. It's going to work for them. And there's going to, a bunch of people that say, oh, like, I'm just this contract that I'm going to only use this agent for a week and that's it. And I mean, that's how I feel. I feel about it. That, I mean, really, there's people that don't really care if they put information in Zillow or not.
So my thing with this is, right, if Zillow is going to have this contract, well, they do have the contract, but if a buyer uses Zillow and takes this contract, okay, cool. The realtor goes and shows you properties, and then you make an offer within that week, and the seller decides not to pay the realtor his fee because now you got to negotiate that up front. You wait after the 7 days to go buy it yourself. Are you not protected as a realtor? Like, is this what's going to happen? And then the only person who continues to win, which is what we talked about, this is the listing agent.
Yeah.
Right. The buyer's agent will continue to die off, and then the consumer is going to get what they've been asking for this whole time.
I mean,
buyer's agent get paid by the hour.
I read the contract that Zillow has, and honestly, that's what it says. I mean, you're only representing the agent, the buyer, just to basically open the door. You're not representing the buyer with that, 1 week contract, as an agent where, it stipulates somewhere in there that you're going to receive some type of commission. So honestly, I feel like for agents that actually go, to show a house based on that, I mean, they're losing. It's like, I'm just showing a house for free. I mean, with anything that is going to be binding me with the client.
Yeah. Any agent that does that needs to have their own contracts.
Yes.
Have their own contract signed.
Yes.
And once again, because everybody keeps saying that the buyer's agent is winning, the buyer's agent is going to win. That's not true, because what's going to happen is that like right now, if I'm showing you a house, right, and I'm going to sell you, I go look in MLS. MLS stipulates what commission I'm getting, and I can't ask for more because it's deemed unethical, right? Even though we're supposed to be able to negotiate it, right? Well, now I'm not going to see what type of commission has been worked out with that person or with that realtor. So my buyer comes to me and says, hey, I want to buy a house. I'm saying, hey, you know what? My time is worth 6%. I want 6%. So I'm going to run around showing houses 6%. So if I get a buyer's agent that says, hey, I only have 2% to give you, I'm going to say, whoop, sorry, I want my 6. So I don't know what we're going to do. I'm working into the contract and my client is okay with it. That's where the conflict is going to happen here.
But see, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and work the scenario out, right? Let's walk it through. Okay, let's say that the seller, along with the seller's agent, says, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to take the 2% or get your client to pay for it. Now, if your client can't pay for it, do they leave? Do they drop you to go buy the house by themselves? Because I had a realtor. No, I didn't have a realtor, but I watched a realtor say this example. Right? They said, you know what? I'll put a property up for sale, and I'm going to get what I think I'm worth. We've always said we list it at 6%. You know, we give the buyer's agent the other 3. If I think that I can do 4 or 5, I'll take the 4 or 5. I'm shooting for the 6, but I'll take the 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. Now, the buyer's agent comes to me, and I'm only willing to pay them 1%. That's all I'm going to pay. Now, if the buyer cannot provide the rest for the buyer's agent, and the buyer comes to me, all I'm going to do is charge them another $2,000. Now, if that's cheaper for them, that's up to them. But what I will let them know is that I 100% represent the seller. I do not represent you.
Yeah.
Now, is this going to affect the buyer? Do you think most buyers are going to go down that route?
Most buyers are they're gonna do exactly what they do with the builders, where they'll go straight to the builder, think they're gonna get more incentives and better deals.
And you know what? As a listing agent, I'm already starting to see that a lot of people, reach out directly to the listing agent, saying that more about the house than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, you're not gonna get a lot of real estate agents just running around showing people houses like crazy.
I think we're not going to have a lot of real estate agents in general.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get rid of a lot of realtors who were just doing what you were saying, just showing houses, right? Who weren't necessarily providing a service to the client. Mm-hmm. Like it takes a different service. Like the Zillow contract doesn't make sense to me because it takes more than a week to get to know the buyer, to actually understand them, what they're going through, and what they need, right? Because even sometimes the buyers, they get overexcited or they get depressed on something and they lose sight of what they need or what they told you from the very beginning. And then you got to bring them back to that. And that takes more than a week. Mm-hmm. Like that happens over time.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about, everything that is going on with, the buyer's agent now having to pay, their own agent? Or I'm sorry, the buyer having to pay their own agent?
Or what's your understanding?
The average person, they say, knows 7 realtors. I did loans for 3 years, so I'm very familiar with it. I would never in a million years buy or sell a house without using a realtor. We talked about do-it-yourselfers. The same way there's investment guys do-it-yourselfer, and it's just like people think you can cut corners in this world and doing loans. I used to talk to Eli about that, about people that do loans on the internet. It's just like, how hard it is to do one of those loans on the internet for what? To beat an eighth of a point or a quarter of a point, which is $37 a month, and you'll drive yourself crazy to try to get that approved. But to answer your question, I think 3% for both. So the new law is what? The buyer's agent?
So no, the new law is pretty much that the buyer's agent doesn't have to put online what they're going to give commission to.
Seller's agent.
The seller's agent doesn't have to put online that he's going to give any commission. It has to be negotiable who pays it.
I don't like it. I don't like things that are negotiable.
Yeah. And the thing about it, right? And the thing about it is that it's always been negotiable, right? How much earnest money you put down, but the norm is 1%. It's always been negotiable as far as how much the option period is going to be. But the norm is the days,
30 days, 60 days,
is 7 days. Is
seven, and then the fee.
Yeah. So everything has a norm, right?
Yeah.
And quite honestly, commissions have a norm right now. It's never been really price fixed.
Only during the pandemic there was no norms.
Yeah, in the pandemic,
$10,000 worth of earnest money for a $200,000 house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was
no option period. That was different.
That was a different time. But right now, everything's getting back to normal. Honestly, I see people be realtors that don't have experience, right? And buyers that don't understand what's happening, that go straight to the listing agent. Those are the only 2 that are going to lose in this deal with this change. That's it. Everybody else, they know what they're doing. We've been doing it. Commercial guys have been doing it for years. Commercial guys will turn in a letter of intent with, I want this much commission, and that's negotiable, So, I mean, I don't see it being, I think really the talk about it, is really more is more damaging than what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, like I said, right? I think what's really going to happen with this is you're going to have your selling agent who's going to negotiate for their pay. They're going to present what they think they should get paid. They're going to shoot for the 6, right?
Mhm.
Or even more
Yeah.
in this case. And what the seller's going to say is, well, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent. Okay, you're just going to pay me 6%. Buyer's agent pay whatever their buyer is going to pay them.
Yeah.
They're still going to pay the 6.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
what's going to happen. Yeah,
I think
the only one who's going to win is the selling agent,
yeah.
right? Which is cool.
But you know what I think is
Well, not
funny.
cool, but
but
you know, it is what it is.
I think it's funny what you just said, because you know, in your career you would think, well, he's a smart guy. He probably can do. You could probably do your own, transaction. You can sell your own house. You can do the paperwork. You can everything because you know what you're doing. You know, but yet you're still sitting here saying, no, I won't buy or sell without.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, stay in your lane. And you know what's funny is that a lot of people, I've been vocal about it, and people get online and say, attorneys are going to put you out of business. Attorneys. And I'm like, I said, are we as the attorneys? I have the attorneys refer me clients. I have clients that are attorneys,
Right.
because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to mess with
They
it.
don't. Yeah. Surveys, appraisals, liens.
Yeah, and then somebody was like, "Oh, well, all we need an attorney for is to draw up the docs." Oh, you see, you do need an attorney. I said to draw docs. That attorney's not representing anybody. He's just typing up docs. It just goes to show how much you know nothing about real estate, and that's what we're here for.
Even in title, right? Whenever you go to actual closing day, whenever you're closing, they make it very known, right? They make it very clear that our attorneys do not represent you. They just wrote up the
I
document.
just typed it up how I
And
saw
they
it.
didn't even type up the full document. They filled in the blank spaces. That's what they did.
Promulgated.
They did not go walk the house. They didn't do the appraisal. They didn't negotiate the price. All they did was say, "This is what's on the paper."
Said, this is what I saw on contract. This is what I typed up, and this is you.
Exactly.
That's what the attorneys say
Yeah.
on all their
Right.
documents, and people don't understand that. But it's funny because, and I've said this before, and people, I say, I have clients, that are wealthy, because see, that's what a lot of people don't understand, the difference between rich and wealthy. And I have clients that are wealthy,
Mhm.
and they don't make a move without me. They'll literally call me, sometimes they're overseas, and so they'll call me like I've got a phone call at 3 a.m, and they're like, "Hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that." And we're here, have a sleep talking to them. They won't make a move without me because they see the value. And then you have somebody who gets on the internet and hears an Instagram of somebody talking about how they did their own deal, their own transaction, how realtors suck and they paid 1%, and they're over here giving me a hard time. I'm like, all right, go ahead, go do what you got to do.
Yeah. There's no convincing them.
Mm-mm.
It was funny. I watched a YouTube video, somebody breaking down the sale of their property, right? And they were talking about how they saved $10,000. And I was like, $10,000 on, I think it was like a $400,000 house. I was like, $10,000 is not
2.5%.
significant.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty sure they probably lost another 20 or 30.
Yep.
Because $10,000 saving from your commission, like, well, where did the rest of the money go?
Mhm.
Where did the rest of the money go? If you did this for sale by owner, you mean somebody came in, an investor probably just made you a cash offer,
Yeah.
and they paid all of your closing costs, while the house is probably really worth $6, and they bought it for $4.
So like in the real estate business, right? We always have like first time home buyers, right? I don't deal with that. I deal with first time investors. That's really tough because they're so smart, and they're smart enough just to get themselves in trouble. Do you ever mess with like somebody who has always been managing their own money, their own everything, and then all of a sudden they get to a point where they have to start using you, and then they're smarter than you?
Well, the do-it-yourselfers are always going to be like smarter. But after 2008, a few years ago, when the market was down 25 or 30%, where there's been horror stories where people really they consider themselves day traders.
Oh my God.
Right. And when I always believe true diversification is not, stocks and bonds 60-40. I'll have a good portfolio that's diversified. I say true diversification is diversified throughout industries. Whether, hey, I want to hear that you have 20 or 30% of real estate in your portfolio, maybe 10 or 20% in a side business, and then 40, 50% in investable assets. And that's where we can come in. And, there's algorithms now. I mean, that you type in a computer and it shows you in your financial plan what type of investment return you need to have in order to reach your financial goals of retirement, or I call it financial independency. Some people never want to retire, but to become financial independent.
I'll never be able to retire. I have to work till I'm dead. But
You like what you do.
Yeah.
you see, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's the important part, right?
I picked an industry that I can do into my old age because I like what I do. I do. Generally, even if I have, I mean, I could literally, live a okay, comfortable life with my rentals and stuff like that. But I want
And your
I
goal.
want to keep pushing.
What do you like? Like, what's the number one thing you like?
And my
About
bullion.
it? What is the number one thing you like about it?
I think the number one thing that I like is meeting a lot of people, and it's whenever somebody does an investment and makes money and you help them, it's like a win for me every time.
Yeah.
And I love playing with other people's money.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. You probably get to do some cool stuff, huh?
It's house money at that.
I like. Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Small business owners that are geniuses and experts in their own field, but that are smart enough to know, hey, there's changing things. 2019 December, there was opportunity zones. So like capital gains, that the individuals had to pay capital gains on any type of gain. Most of it's real estate.
Yeah.
But if they have sell anything, a car, a baseball card, clothes, a painting. But if you have to stroke a check to Uncle Sam, everyone's favorite uncle, for $55,000, that hurts. 150,000, 300,000. But instead of doing that, you can invest in an opportunity zone. An opportunity zone is a commercial real estate investment.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with them around the country, like 265 that have zones that have not recovered since the 2008 mortgage crisis. And you can invest in that in lieu of that. And you have these smart business owners. Well, I didn't know that. Well, laws change in our industry. We're like, stay in your lane and let us do,
Yeah.
Would you say you're passionate about both of your money management and then your clothing line? Or?
Yeah. Everyone always says, "Oh, are you going to do this full time?" And my answer keeps saying no. Because I enjoy. I might not take on new clients in my financial firm, but I really like the clients that I do have and the assets I do manage. They're with me. So
you're talking to, because I've been seeing that a lot. That a lot of money managers have been turning the
clients
what is
down.
the 301 exchange. What's it called?
Opportunity zone, 1035 exchange.
1035 exchange.
Yeah.
They've been instead of doing the 1035 exchange, they're taking it to what you're saying. They're doing to these opportunity zones and building these apartments, and then they're using the depreciation to offset the.
Yeah, it's a 5 to 7 to 10 year investment, but it's better than just giving this check.
It's better than that's I've been seeing that a lot, and I was actually looking into that. I was trying to be on the brokering side, right? But I've right now that you're saying that, I have actually had a because I've had a lot of suits made for myself. I have a lot of suits. I buy a lot of suits all the time. That's like my little luxury that I do for all the time. I'll spend $3,000 on a suit. I don't care.
Wow.
Because I wear it all the time. And one time there's this one guy I saw, he said, "Hey, let me make a suit for you." I said, "Okay." So I went to his place, and he had a nice view and everything, made me a suit and everything. And I was like, why don't I do this? Why don't I make suits for people? And that's always been in the back of my mind. Actually, my son has some, because my son likes to wear suits now too. And so my son works for a private equity firm, and he likes to wear suits every day too. And so he's like, why don't we do a place, and we could be a tailor, do suits, and just have like a spot. And right now, when you were saying that, hey, I'm doing this, but I still love doing my job, but
You can make me a suit.
Yeah.
I've never had one. I'm a husky, it's hard to find a fit.
man, dude, double breasted, bro, all day long.
The right fit,
Right
the
fit,
right
man.
fit.
Oh,
Good luck.
dude.
Yes, real sharp.
I'm down. Well,
That's all that matters, man. Just the right fit.
follow your passion. I think you should do that. I think I'd be cool.
I don't know, man. Maybe
Kids are grown.
yeah.
You got extra time on the nights and weekends, I'm sure.
That's true.
Shoot, I'm
It's
trying
fun.
to get free suits. Shoot.
Hey, you always have that one friend, man, trying to get free.
I'll buy one. He's like, he wants to plug the thing.
I'll give you social capital. I'll promote it for you. Social capital, bro. That's the most important thing today. All right, guys, we're gonna let it close out. We have our hard out at 8, and then we have our after hours podcast right after this. We're gonna do that today.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and let you two exit out. Let them know where they can find you, what you're doing, and name of your companies. Okay, starting off with Nick.
Nick K713 Instagram.
Paulie B, URP Ware, unlike regular people, and wealthstandardfinancial.com.
Thanks for coming again, Paul. We really appreciate the last minute. We're here, Lionsgate Realty. I'm Giovanni Frank, your local Houston realtor. Go ahead, exalt Nate.
Nate Balderas, I'm a master broker for Lionsgate Realty.
Controversial master.
Controversial real estate. Controversial real estate broker for Lionsgate Realty, and you can always find me at all my social media outlets with Better Call Nate.
He's the Mad Owl of
But
Houston.
not the private one.
Not the private one. That's for the family.
Rachel Mad Owl of Houston.
This is Flor Velasquez with Lionsgate Realty. You can find me on my social media as Flor Velasquez Realtor. Till next time.
Till next time. Was it Vic? What do you? I didn't get
Was
to
Vic
read it.
trolling us, man?
You should be proud of your family and post.
Oh, it shows it on here. Let's go.
Ask him where his family's posted.